words hit like a blunt force to the chest. Declan Turner stood frozen in place, clipboard clutched tightly in hand, feigning focus on a stack of inventory sheets. The dim warehouse light flickered above him as he lingered behind a pile of heavy crates, just 10 feet away from where the conversation unfolded. To the outside world, he was just another new hire, a quiet man in a navy cap and reflective vest, counting boxes of light fixtures. But no one here knew the truth. 5 years ago, Declan owned this place. He'd rescued the struggling supply company from the brink, transformed it into a thriving logistics chain that now sprawled across the state with 5 full-scale warehouses. But expansion had a price: distance. Growth required delegation, and soon Declan found himself buried under quarterly reports and balance sheets, far removed from the beating heart of the warehouse floor. He had never met most of the people packing, lifting, sweating to keep his dream alive. It started with a whisper, just a strange dip in the numbers. This warehouse in Denton was lagging, fewer shipments out, alarming inventory errors, employee turnover higher than all other locations combined. Yet on paper, everything looked flawless, too flawless. Every foreman report read like a checklist of corporate cliches, streamlined, efficient, morale high. So Declan disguised himself. A beard, thick glasses, steel-toed boots, and a new name: Doug. He embedded himself within the team, not to catch someone red-handed, but to understand where the soul of his company had gone. After 3 exhausting days on the floor, what he discovered chilled him. Denton was falling apart. A forklift driver had quit mid-shift after a screaming match with the foreman. 2 packers down, and those who remained wore exhaustion like a second skin. Declan had seen the signs before in the faces of men who'd been pushed too hard, too long, for too little. And now, hidden behind a stack of drywall pallets, he heard it. The sharp voice of Wade, the foreman. "You missed yesterday without notice, and now you expect me to just let that slide?" Wade barked, voice low and bitter like poison in coffee. "I left a message with Carmen," came a young, uncertain voice. Declan peeked around the stack. Jeremy. Barely 20, if that. Pale, thin, the kind of tired that doesn't come from just lack of sleep, but from fear and hunger that gnaws at the soul. "Carmen doesn't run this floor. I do," Wade snapped. "You vanish for a day, no call to me, and you think you're still getting paid?" He loomed over Jeremy, casting a shadow that felt too heavy for the kid to bear. "You want to keep this job, you show up, even if you're coughing up a lung." "I had a fever I could barely stand," Jeremy stammered. Wade leaned in, breath sharp with aggression. "Next time you call out, you better be in a hospital bed, and I better see damn proof. Otherwise, you're losing hours. Got it?" Jeremy nodded, eyes to the floor, too afraid to speak. Declan's jaw clenched. A storm was building behind his ribs. He watched Wade walk away, then crossed the space toward Jeremy, every step grounded in quiet fury masked by calm. "Hey," Declan said gently, crouching to the boy's level. "You all right?" Jeremy looked up, startled. "Oh, yeah, just tired, I guess." He tried to laugh, but it cracked like dry wood. "Maybe I should have dragged myself in yesterday like he said." Declan's voice dropped to a whisper. "Does he always talk to people like that?" Jeremy hesitated, guilt etched in every line of his face. "It's not just me. He's worse with the older guys. Or anyone who messes up even once." Declan nodded slowly, absorbing it. "Is there anyone decent here? Someone who actually gives a damn?" Jeremy looked around, then pointed subtly toward the break area. "Carmen. She's the only reason I came back. She brought soup to my place last night, told me not to come in, but I didn't want to lose my job." Declan placed a reassuring hand on Jeremy's shoulder. "Thanks. You're doing more than you know." Later that morning, Declan slipped into the makeshift break room, really just a corner of the warehouse cleared of crates, housing a flickering vending machine and 2 cracked plastic tables. Carmen stood wiping one down, her brown curls tied back, her face worn, but kind. He approached with a practiced ease. "Hey, Carmen, right?" She looked up and smiled. "Yep. You're Doug, the new guy?" "It's me," he grinned. "You're doing okay out there, fast learner." Declan chuckled, keeping his tone light but his eyes sharp. He was here for more than chit-chat. "Hey, quick question," he said, glancing back toward the floor. "Is it always this intense here?" "Tense with Wade?" Carmen's smile faltered. Her hands paused in motion, cloth frozen mid-wipe. She glanced around, then replied with careful restraint. "Wade gets results. That's what the district manager says." "That's not what I ask," Declan replied gently, his gaze steady. For a moment, silence stretched between them like a held breath. Then Carmen exhaled, her voice lowering. "He pushes people too hard. No support, no patience, just pressure like a vice that never lets up. We've lost good workers, solid, experienced people because they couldn't take it anymore. But I keep my mouth shut. I've got a mortgage and a daughter starting school. I can't afford to stir the water." Declan gave a small nod. He understood, far too well. That night, sleep barely touched him. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his motel room, haunted by Jeremy's hollow eyes, Carmen's quiet bravery, and the way Wade's threats echoed with years of unchecked abuse. How many others had walked away? Not because they failed, but because no one ever listened. By morning, a decision had crystallized in his mind. He had to go deeper. Wade's power came from unchecked authority. Declan decided to fabricate small errors in the system, carefully logging incorrect SKUs to monitor Wade's responses. When Carmen noticed and attempted to correct them, Wade snapped in front of the crew, his voice laced with fury. "You don't touch my numbers," he barked. "You screw up, you own it." It was becoming undeniable. Wade wasn't merely strict. He was poison, a leadership cancer slowly rotting the foundation of everything Declan had built. And Declan was no longer watching. He was documenting. On the 4th day, Declan arrived at dawn. The sky outside was still a bruise-colored blue, and frost clung to the loading dock windows. Wade was already there, berating a delivery driver for a shipment Declan had deliberately rerouted. "Where the hell is this even here?" Wade shouted, his voice cutting through the warehouse hum. "I don't care what the manifest says. You don't accept anything unless it comes with my sign-off." The driver, barely old enough to vote, looked terrified. "Dispatch said they emailed someone. Carmen, maybe. I'm not sure." Wade stepped in close. "Next time you show up without my approval, you leave empty. No delivery, no signature. Got it?" The kid nodded quickly, words caught in his throat. Moments later, Carmen arrived, rubbing her hands together against the cold. "I was told we were short on PVC units. Is this the Fremont batch?" Wade spun on her like a storm. "You told him to bring this?" "I forwarded the request," she said calmly. "Fremont was overstocked and I cleared it with logistics yesterday." "You don't forward anything without checking with me first." "I did, you never replied." "You're not paid to make decisions," Wade hissed, jabbing a finger in her direction. "You want to keep your hours, you remember that." Declan, standing by the crates, clenched his jaw. Carmen turned and walked away, lips pressed tightly together, silent. Her dignity intact, but her spirit clearly bruised. Later that morning, Declan joined Lewis in the picking zone. Lewis was a quiet man in his mid-50s, his movements deliberate and precise. There was a seasoned rhythm in the way he worked, muscle memory built over years. "How long you been here?" Declan asked, lifting a conduit. Lewis didn't look up. Since the old owners. 12 years. You like it? It paused. I liked it more before. Before what? Before people who worked with you got replaced by people who just talked down to you. You ever talk to HR? Lewis chuckled dryly. HR's in Houston. They don't care about someone like me. Declan didn't respond. Instead, he shifted the conversation. You trained me yesterday on the new scanner. That your usual job? Nope. Wade didn't want to wait for the new trainer. Said I had to do it. You get paid extra for that? Lewis shook his head. I don't ask. That moment lingered in Declan's heart. The resignation of a good man who'd been taught not to expect fairness. Just then, shouting erupted nearby. Two younger workers were arguing about a missing pallet. Wade stormed in. If you screw up another outbound, I'm docking both your hours next week. One of the men, Marcus, a tall, weathered guy with calloused hands, stepped forward. We didn't touch base 7 since yesterday. You calling me a liar? No, but then shut it and move. Marcus straightened, fire in his eyes. We're not kids, man. You don't talk to us like that. Wade turned slowly. You don't like it, you can take a walk. Marcus held his ground. I've been here 4 years. Every mistake you blame us. Never once have you owned anything. Just then, Carmen walked in, clipboard in hand. She froze. Wade stepped closer to Marcus. Get your stuff. You're done here. No, he's not, Declan said, stepping forward. Wade blinked, confused. Excuse me? Declan pulled off his cap. Said, he's not done here. A stillness rippled through the warehouse. Carmen's eyes widened. Lewis stopped mid-lift. The air felt electric. I'm Declan Turner, he said, voice even, owner of this company. Wade's jaw dropped. Silence slammed down like a hammer. Declan stepped past him, turning to Marcus. What's your name? Marcus. You have such a marvelous city. You're not going anywhere. He turned to Carmen and Lewis. And Carmen and Lewis, you can take the rest of the day. Full pay. Carmen blinked. Are you serious? Completely. Wade. Office. Now. Wade didn't move. Walk, Declan said again, not raising his voice. But it wasn't a request. It was a verdict. Inside the cramped office, Declan shut the door with finality. The air between them was thick with confrontation. You lied in your reports, Declan began, stepping slowly around the desk like a storm circling its center. You falsified performance metrics, created a hostile work environment, and retaliated against employees for using their sick time. That's not management. That's misconduct. Wade scoffed, folding his arms with a sneer. They're soft. You want results? You gotta push people. Pressure separates the weak from the ones who can handle the job. No, Declan said, stepping in closer. What you've done is run off good people, cut corners, and buried the damage under doctored paperwork. You didn't build a team. You built a cage. I've kept this place running, Wade fired back. You've kept it running on fear, Declan said, voice low but sharp, and fear doesn't scale. A long silence passed. Then Wade said coldly, You're making a mistake. No, Declan answered, eyes unwavering. You did. When you forgot that respect matters more than volume. Clean out your desk. You're done. For a moment, Wade's expression was unreadable, somewhere between defiance and disbelief. But he didn't argue. He turned and walked out. Declan followed him to the top of the metal stairs overlooking the warehouse floor. The space, once bustling with tension and fatigue, slowed to a hush as his voice carried out. I want everyone's attention. Forklifts paused. Tape guns fell silent. Even the buzz of the overhead lights felt distant. My name is Declan Turner. I founded this company 5 years ago. For the past week, I've been working undercover in this facility. Gasps and whispers rippled through the warehouse like a wave of realization. I came here because the numbers didn't make sense. But what I discovered was worse than any spreadsheet. You've been working under leadership that disrespects and disregards you. That ends now. He let the silence breathe before continuing. Wade has been terminated, effective immediately. No applause, just stunned silence. Too many had endured too much for too long to cheer right away. I know many of you have been carrying more than your share without recognition. That stops here. We're reviewing every schedule, every staffing issue, every pay discrepancy. If you've been doing the work, you're going to be seen and paid for it. He stepped down from the platform and walked directly to Carmen. Carmen, you're now acting floor supervisor until we find someone permanent. You've earned that trust. Carmen opened her mouth, then closed it again, unable to form words through the shock. Lewis, Declan turned to the seasoned worker. Your pay is being adjusted, retroactive to when you started training new hires. Lewis blinked and looked away, overwhelmed, his eyes glistening just slightly. And to the rest of you, Declan said, addressing the crew, if you've got concerns, my door is open. No more silence, no more fear. This company doesn't run without you, and starting today, it's going to feel like it. As he walked toward the dock, Wade passed him with a box under his arm. Eyes averted. Declan didn't stop him. His focus had already shifted to those who stayed, the ones who showed up every day, not for praise or power, but because they believed in the work. And now, finally, someone believed in them. Back in the now abandoned office, Declan stood alone. The silence after Wade's departure felt oddly sacred. He surveyed the clutter, half-finished reports, inconsistent notes, a whiteboard with vague sales targets. His gaze lingered on the chair Wade had once claimed with unchecked authority. Then Carmen appeared at the door. I don't want to overstep, she said quietly, her voice edged with caution. But the team's waiting for direction. You're not overstepping, Glenn replied. You're doing exactly what someone in charge should. She stepped inside, eyes flicking to the desk. I've never run a shift solo, she confessed. I've supervised jobs, filled gaps, but it's different. I'm not expecting perfection, Declan said. I'm expecting honesty. If something's off, speak up. If someone's struggling, don't let them carry it alone. Carmen hesitated. There's something I need to show you. She led him down a narrow back hallway behind the inventory cage. There, behind a rusted compressor, was a walked cabinet, nearly invisible unless you knew where to look. Wade always kept this locked, said it was overflow storage, but some nights when I worked late, I'd hear him back here, alone. She pulled out a key and unlocked the door. Inside, 2 clipboards, a half-used logbook, and a stack of purchase forms. Declan picked one up. These aren't in the system, he muttered, scanning them. Duplicated orders, some with inflated quantities, others corrected in handwriting that doesn't match official forms, Carmen added. I think he was padding shipments, ordering more than we needed, then marking fake returns that never got processed. Declan's expression hardened. This isn't just incompetence, it's fraud. I'll need every document, he said. Keep this quiet for now. If he was stealing, this could be criminal. She nodded and left. Declan spent the next hour matching the forms to digital logs. The discrepancies weren't massive, but they were deliberate and consistent. Spread over months, they added up. Later, he pulled Marcus aside. You've been here a while. Ever see Wade take product himself? Marcus frowned. Not exactly, but he'd clock out and stay another hour. Said he was double-checking freight. Never let anyone help. That checks out, Declan said, thinking of the irregular truck logs. We only had pickups till 6, but he was here long after. Back in the office, Declan picked up the phone and called the regional compliance officer. I want a full audit on all outbound transactions. Anything Wade signed, vendor returns too. If there's even one missing shipment, I want it flagged. After hanging up, he returned to the floor. Carmen was coordinating with Lewis and Jeremy, who still looked pale. You should be home, Declan said softly. Jeremy shrugged. I already missed 2 days this month. Can't afford more. How many hours are you scheduled? 32. Bump it to 40 next week, Declan said. No overtime, just full time. And Carmen? Make sure he takes tomorrow off. Pay. Jeremy's eyes widened, but Carmen nodded. Got it. Declan turned to Lewis. I want a full walkthrough of the outbound process. Every step, every gap. Let's see what's been missed. They spent the next 2 hours combing through the system Wade had rigged for speed over accuracy. One glaring omission stood out. He'd eliminated the double-check process on outgoing shipments, saving time but causing errors and customer complaints. Lewis explained how staff were told to skip confirmations if they were behind. That changes now, Declan said. We go back to full verification every time. Lewis raised an eyebrow. That's going to slow us down. I'd rather ship late, Declan replied, than ship wrong. Lewis nodded, though his eyes lingered on the looming stacks of unshipped orders crowding the walls. We'll need more hands. I know, Declan replied. I'm working on it. By late afternoon, something intangible had shifted on the warehouse floor. The air no longer trembled with tension. There was still wariness, but it had softened, replaced not with ease, but with cautious curiosity. The absence of Wade's voice, once a constant bark of pressure, created a strange stillness that echoed like a question. What now? People began asking more questions. They clarified instructions without fear of being barked at. Carmen moved through the aisles with a steadiness that hadn't been there before. She was thinking ahead, not looking over her shoulder. She caught Declan near the packing stations and pulled him aside. I want to rearrange the inbound racks, she said. They're too tight. We've had a couple close calls with boxes falling. Declan didn't hesitate. Do it, but flag it with maintenance first. Make sure the new setup's secure. She nodded, brisk and confident, then strode back to her team. An hour later, Declan's phone buzzed. It was the compliance officer. We found 6 returns, logged as processed, that never left the dock. 2 were signed by Wade, no matching truck logs. I'm sending you the reports now. Treat it as internal theft, Declan said, and keep digging. Not long after, near the time clock, he noticed a small group of employees huddled, whispering. He approached them. Everything okay? A younger woman turned to him, safety gloves still on, and a sleeve tattoo peeking from under her shirt. She gave a half smile. It's just weird. Weird. Not having someone yell every hour. Declan smiled softly. Good weird or bad weird? She chuckled. We'll let you know tomorrow. That night, long after the last punch-out, Declan sat alone in Wade's old office. The whiteboard was still cluttered with harsh mantras. Push harder. No excuses. Cut dead weight. He picked up the eraser and wiped it clean. In its place, he wrote, Respect the work. Trust the people. Fix what's broken. He turned off the lights, let the soft hum of the warehouse surround him, and walked out into the quiet evening, his heart heavy, but finally aligned with purpose. The next morning, Declan arrived before the sun broke the horizon. He stood quietly by the entrance, watching the team arrive one by one beneath the pale gray sky. He didn't speak, just observed. Noted who looked rested, who looked worn, who walked with purpose, who was still rebuilding their confidence. Carmen arrived, clipboard in hand, stride firm. Jeremy came in last, still pale, still thin, but more upright, more grounded. Inside, the warehouse breathed differently now. The tempo wasn't faster. It wasn't louder. It was steadier. Carmen had already implemented changes to the inbound layout, enlisting 2 part-timers to ease the load. Declan had signed off on their hours himself. He walked the floor alongside Lewis, now donning a yellow vest that marked him as the new lead for outbound logistics. The title came with more than a raise. It came with autonomy. Lewis motioned toward a section marked by fresh tape lines. "We cleared out this secondary bay. High-priority loads go here now. No more scrambling last minute." Mart, who came up with it. "Marcus and I. He used something similar at his last job. You getting what you need?" "Mostly. Still short on muscle. But I've got 3 interviews lined up today. Only hiring people who've done this work. No more folks who just talk a good game." Declan smiled. "Good." Across the warehouse, Carmen was gently correcting a young woman near the packing line. "She's missing items during final checks," she explained quietly. "Not because she's careless. She's rushing, scared of losing hours." Declan stepped over. "What's your name?" "Riley." "You're not losing hours, Riley, but you are going to slow down, focus on accuracy. 1 wrong shipment costs us a client. Carmen will check your orders every other hour until you're settled. If you need more training, we'll make time for it." Riley nodded, relief flooding her expression like light through cracked glass. Later, Declan found Marcus by the vending machine. "Come with me," he said. Back in the office, they sat across from each other. "I want you to consider stepping into a supervisor role." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Me?" "You've got instincts. You speak up when it counts. That matters." "I've never managed people." "You've already started. You just haven't had the title." Marcus looked down at his hands. "I don't want to be like him." "You won't be. You've got Carmen, Lewis, and me." Marcus nodded, slow but thoughtful. "I'll think about it." "Good. Let me know when you're ready." An hour later, a man from compliance arrived with 2 boxes and a report. 6 phantom returns. 3 included hardware that never made it to inventory. "We've got footage. Wade used blind spots. Truck logs show he loaded pallets alone after hours. We're filing with legal." Declan's voice was firm. "Do it. I want full restitution, no deals." And the man left. Declan returned to the floor. No gloves, no clipboard, just presence. Listening, watching. He stopped by Jeremy, who was scanning crates with care. "You're not overdoing it?" "No," Jeremy said without looking up. "Carmen told me to flag her if I felt off. I'm pacing myself." Jeremy hesitated. "It's different now. People aren't afraid to ask." Declan smiled. "That's the goal." Later that afternoon, Declan met with Rob, the district manager. "I reviewed Denton's files," Rob said. "Wade's reports were spotless. I never saw it coming." "Because you weren't looking," Declan replied. "You relied on reports, not people." "I've got 4 other sites." "Not anymore. From now on, each warehouse has its own operations lead. You manage strategy, not day-to-day. You're cutting my authority. I'm restoring accountability. You want to stay, you adapt." After a pause, Rob nodded. "Understood." The first 2 interviews started at 4 p.m., both recommended by existing staff. One was a former construction worker with quiet strength. The other, a single mother looking for steady hours. Declan hired both. No hoops, no red tape. They'd start Monday. At shift's end, Declan gathered the remaining crew by the dock. Not all could stay. Some had kids to pick up, others second jobs, but enough remain. "I've seen what happens when leadership forgets what this job is," he said. "That won't happen again." He looked around. Faces were tired, but they were open now. Honest. This place doesn't need miracles. It needs consistency, fairness. It needs people who care about getting it right. That's what I've seen in you, and that's what we're building on. He paused. No one here gets punished for being human. You need help? Ask. You need time? Take it. You show up, do the work, and you'll be treated with the respect you deserve. He saw Carmen standing beside Riley, Lewis just behind Marcus, who still hadn't accepted the role, but hadn't walked away either. Some of you are waiting to see if this is real. I understand. I'd be skeptical too, but you'll see it. In the schedules, in the paychecks, in the silence where yelling used to be. He stepped back. Go home, rest. Monday, we start clean. As they dispersed, Declan walked the warehouse one last time. The lines were reset, the lights dimmed to energy-saving mode. The silence felt earned. He rolled Wade's old chair out to the dock, took a wrench and unbolted the nameplate from the office door. Then, without ceremony, he tossed both into the scrap bin. He didn't look back. This place didn't need a boss looming overhead. It needed someone who had walked the floor and remembered how heavy the load really was.